Time for a break. What's that? Louis? What are you doing on my door? Fire Emblem is one of those series I always looked upon from the outside and thought to myself, this looks really fun. I need to make some time to play one of these games. And then eventually when I played one, another game would come along and demand my attention for content creation, which would usually cause me to drop Fire Emblem since I never imagined myself streaming it or creating any content around it. Because you see, as a content creator, it's often very hard to dedicate time to games you are not actively covering on your channel. To give you an idea, I still haven't finished Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I friggin' love that series. So when Fire Emblem Engage rolled around, I decided I was going to take a chance and try my hand at streaming it, considering that recently I've been expanding the channel's variety quite a bit anyways. And the streams for Fire Emblem Engage have been an absolute blast. I am extremely glad to see that so many of you are actually enjoying the series, and so today I figured I'd talk a little bit about my thoughts on the game so far. This title was sent to me by Nintendo so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it, so let's go ahead and let's begin. One of the first things that I got to talk about when it comes to this game has to be the community. The community of people that has shown up to my streams has been friggin' great. I'm not sure if this is the case everywhere when it comes to Fire Emblem, if you can go to a forum and people are pretty chill, or if you can go to other streams and people are pretty cool there or not, but my interactions with the community so far have been very positive. Basically, people show up, they teach me the ropes a little bit without necessarily giving me the solution to the puzzle, which is something that I can really appreciate, because for those of you that aren't aware of how the gameplay of Fire Emblem works, it's almost like a chess puzzle. You have a bunch of pieces on the board, and each of the pieces has different moves that it can do, and it's all about you planning those moves correctly in order to achieve, the best result, destroying all of your enemies with the least amount of casualties, whilst also picking up as many things as you can on the map. That's kind of like your objective, maximizing your gains, minimizing your losses, and trying to basically bring everybody out of the game alive. And people have been kind enough to point out mechanics that would have completely gone over my head, which naturally made the experience that much more enjoyable when I can actually understand what is happening on screen, as opposed to, for instance, a unit popping up seemingly out of nowhere and one-shotting the main character. That has never happened. Stop looking at me like that. I swear, it just doesn't happen. But anyway, I also gave chat the opportunity to choose the difficulty that we were going to be playing in, as well as the mode that we were going to be playing in, which we ended up going hard classic. And to be honest, I actually really like that style of gameplay because it makes me really question how I'm going to be playing my units, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, no, I'll just put this guy here, I'm sure he'll do fine. I'm always questioning, okay, if I put it here, what is the opponent going to do in response to that? Is my unit going to be able to survive? Do I need to bring multiple units here? Do I need to bring multiple units there? And it's a much more tactical experience. And the classic thing, I was actually hesitant to jump into the game on classic mode, simply because I thought that what is expected of you when you play classic is like, hey, you make one mistake, unit is dead, and you have to live with that for the rest of your playthrough. When in reality, that's more reserved for like challenge runs, like if you want to do like an Iron Man run or something like that. At least this is what the community has been telling me. Classic mode is more there to kind of like prevent people from just suiciding units onto the enemy because they can just return on the next battle, which to me that's fine, because I never planned on playing like that, suiciding units into the enemy to begin with. Which, hey, listen, people play however you want. Like, whatever playstyle you enjoy is whatever playstyle you enjoy. But I just had a completely different idea of what classic mode was about. Like, I thought classic mode was about you not restarting a scenario. It was about you just accepting, like, oh, you made a mistake, that character's dead forever. But in reality, when people explain to me, no, classic mode is there so that you don't suicide your units like a maniac. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because I actually like playing like that. And the hard difficulty, again, made me really have to think tactically about where I'm placing all the things. So that's been really cool. Community aspects have been really cool, and I really wanted to shout you guys out. Anyway, Continuing onwards, usually I start these videos by talking about the visuals. When it comes to the visuals for this game, I think they look pretty good. Naturally, we have to keep in mind that this is a Switch title. So if you're going to be comparing it to, current generation like PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X graphics, of course, it's not going to look as great as that. But for the power that the Switch can output, I think the visuals look friggin' fantastic, particularly when it comes to the visuals on the field of battle. Like whenever you're looking at an animation of two units clashing together, I think that those animations look fantastic. The visuals there also look really good, particularly whenever it happens to be like a special attack that you can do by pairing the units with the rings and whatnot, which is like the main mechanic of Engage. I think that those animations look fantastic. The animations to me are actually, they look even better than the visuals themselves, because the visuals are fine, it's whatever. I can understand some people are not going to like the art style of the main character because he's got like the red and blue hair. People are making all kinds of memes. Pepsi son, Colgate daughter, whatever. I look, guys, I've seen it all. It doesn't bother me one bit personally. Like, I think the memes are funny, it's whatever. But, the actual visuals, I think they're good. When it comes to the animations in Somnial, however, or whenever you're just like free roaming, because there are some places where you get to free roam with your character, there you can see that they didn't take as much care with the animations there, which makes sense, because like the actual focus of where the animations need to be important is when you are actually in combat. Those are the ones that really need to be polished up. So I don't necessarily mind that, like, when you're running around, it doesn't look quite as polished as when they're in combat. So to me, that was like, whatever. So overall, the visuals are really good. In terms of sounds, the sounds are good. The soundtrack, I really like it. I like that it changes dynamically depending on what is happening on the field. So that is something that I can appreciate. I also like the guitar track that showed up at the very beginning. I hope that there's more of that, but I haven't really experienced all of it, and I'm not going to be checking it out. I'm going to be seeing it as it happens in the game, because that's usually the way that I like to experience the content. But overall, visuals and sound, I don't really have too much to point out. I think that it's pretty good. In terms of the story, I mean, the story is okay so far. I mean, it's pretty basic. I'm not going to be getting into details when it comes to the story. You're just going to get my overall opinion. I think it's a fairly basic story so far. I don't know how strong Fire Emblem games usually go on the story itself, but I think it's enough to get me motivated to play through the game. So I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the different characters. There's character developments and relationships and all of these things that happen in these games, which I actually didn't expect. Like, the actual game itself and the systems around the game are way more complex than I initially imagined. Like, I thought it was going to be much more simple. It's like, oh, just equip a weapon onto your dude now deals more damage, whatever. It's like, no. There's this whole hierarchy of relationships and how things happen in the field of battle based around the relationships of your characters, which I believe this has probably been a staple of the series for the longest time, but I've never really, again, this is the first time that I'm actually jumping in and doing my best to stick with it. So, bear with me and learning all of these crazy things. Like, it's been an immense learning experience. Let's put it like that. The game is way more complex than I thought. And then in terms of gameplay, I think the gameplay is just straight up really, really good. Really, really fun tactical RPG. I mean, there's always that random RNG stuff, shenanigans that happen every now and then, which, makes for a pretty fun thing. Like, earlier today when I was, this was in part 3, I'm doing like one of the, I think it was it a skirmish? I'm not sure if it was a skirmish or an actual map, but I think it might have been a skirmish. And I have all of my units laid out, and I know where the damage is going to be coming from, and I have like everything predicted on my head to the nth degree. I'm like, I'm going to do this thing and that thing and the other thing. And I have like all of my weaker units, they're protected by chain guard, and I have everything laid out, right? What happens? One lousy thief with a knife, okay? He's got like 2 attacks with his knife. Hits one of my weak units, breaks the chain guard, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. That was predictable. Then he throws the second knife and one-shots my dude. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. What the hell is that about? And everybody in chat just explodes. Lol, 2% chance, lol. And I was like, wow, okay. So there's always going to be those situations, which, to be honest, I think those are really funny. I'll be real. I think that stuff is funny. I mean, then you change and you adapt, and because there's also a time reverse mechanic that lets you. It gives you like 10 chances to reverse some of your moves, which makes those mistakes a little bit more tolerable, allows you to be a little bit more offensive with some of the units so that you can actually take chances and not be like, oh, the moment you take a chance, it's all over. So, the game in a lot of ways is more complex, but also more forgiving, even though I'm playing on hard mode. But then again, I'm still at the very beginning. I'm not sure how hard things actually get as the scenarios escalate, but it's been a really fun learning experience, and it's been something that I've really been enjoying. Now, like I was saying, the mechanic for this one, for those of you that are curious, that don't know what's the kind of the mechanic that this one has, is that you have these rings that you can equip onto characters, and that allows them to engage with another character. So what does the engage do? It depends on which character you engage with. So right now I've unlocked 4 characters. I'll tell you about the 3 starter ones that you kind of get, which is the first one's Marth. Marth basically gives you more damage whenever you engage with him. He gives you a special attack as well that you can do, which is like super fancy animation that just does a ton of damage. And whenever you engage with Marth, there's an added chance to avoid to dodge attacks, which is really cool because basically I've been using that engage defensively. The engage lasts for 3 turns, and you get to do the special attack once. And then you have to attack other units to refill the engage bar. I think it's usually like 8 attacks, if I'm not mistaken, something around those numbers. So you do like 8 attacks, and then your engage bar fills up again, and you can engage again. Or there are actually certain squares in the field that allow you to refill your engage. So that's Marth. Then there's another one, which is Sigured. Sigured basically lets you move a lot, and he also has like this trample move that allows you to hit 2 units at once. And then there's one of my favorites, which is is it Celine? No, Celine is the princess. I forget what the name of her emblem is. I'm sorry, guys. I'm terrible with names when it comes to Fire Emblem. I'm a complete noob, all right? But basically, Celine's ring is like you teleport and you blow somebody up. That I love that. It's just like, hey, I use my special, I teleport, somebody gets blown up. That is beautiful. I love that thing. I've been using it relentlessly every chance that I get. It's fantastic. Heavily recommended. But that really kind of like gives you more tactic stuff to figure out while you are doing the maps, which is just something that I find very fun. And it's actually one of the games that, I was thinking to myself, like, I'll do a stream and then it'll be like, whatever. But it's just been so much fun that I'm always thinking about, oh man, I want to play some more Fire Emblems. Yay, let's get back in. It's like I want to stream more so that I can play more Fire Emblem. And this week has been a nightmare because there's so much stuff that I got to get done. But yeah, it's definitely something that I see myself streaming for a considerable amount of time because it's just a lot of fun, and you guys seem to be enjoying it as well. So that's cool. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about is like in between each map, which is like the actual gameplay, right? There's all of these social things that you're expected to do. You got to talk to the characters, pick up a bunch of loot that's going to be in your headquarters. You got to do all of these different things. And if there's one criticism that I would put on it is like, I would like for the gathering things and the social aspect things and all of that to happen like maybe every 3 missions or something like that, as opposed to right now. I always feel like, oh, I finished the mission, I gotta go to headquarters, start picking up stuff from the ground, make sure that I don't leave any loot behind, gotta make sure to polish the rings, gotta make sure to do the arena things, and I know that I'm probably overdoing it. I'm a little bit OCD when it comes to this stuff, so I'm probably overdoing it, but I kind of wish that it didn't feel as mandatory almost. It isn't mandatory. I know that it's not mandatory, but I always feel like I'm missing out on things if I don't do it, right? Which I'm not sure how you're supposed to handle that part of it, but if it's almost like if there was less to do there and more things around the maps, I would enjoy that even more. And one of the things that a lot of people ask me is like, oh, is it better than Three Houses? And it's like, I'm probably the last person that you want to be asking that. I did play a little bit of Three Houses, I will say that. But again, back then I was even more of a noob than I am now when it comes to Fire Emblem. And one of the things that I remember about Three Houses is that the social aspect of the game, which this game has a social aspect, was much more in depth. At least I think it was much more in depth than the one in Fire Emblem Engage. And I think that I remember thinking to myself, look, this has so much Persona on it, and you still haven't finished Persona 5? You might as well play Persona 5 instead of this. And then you can play this. It's almost like my brain trying to be disciplined about my backlog. So my understanding is that Three Houses is, it's got the Fire Emblem gameplay and all of that, but it has way more emphasis on the social aspects of the characters, interacting with the characters outside of the maps, all of that stuff. Whereas Fire Emblem Engage has a bigger emphasis on you actually, engaging in the battles and all of that stuff, and the social elements are not as prevalent as Three Houses. That's what I've been told by the community as well. But whether or not it's better, I believe that a lot of people really enjoyed the story of Three Houses. So I think that it is considered that the story of Three Houses is better than Engage. But I personally can't speak on that at all because I just don't know. But hey, I'm enjoying Engage a whole lot. Let me know if this video helped you out. Again, I'm still very much a noob in Fire Emblem. I might make a couple of more videos talking about this as I progress throughout my streams. Maybe you'll get to accompany my evolution on the Fire Emblem series. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that jazz. And those of you that want to know, the best character in the game so far is Louis, okay? The Giga Chad. Louis the Giga Chad, he's the best. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.